So let's dig a little deeper into what authorities are calling an anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Australia. Let's go to Emma Withrow from the Fact Check team. And unfortunately, Emma, this is not an isolated incident. You've been looking into it today.
Yeah.
Break down the numbers of anti-Semitic attacks that have only surged in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been awful. So since October 7th, 2023, there's been a notable escalation in anti-Semitic attacks globally, just, all across the globe, from violent assaults to vandalism and threats against synagogues and Jewish institutions. Data from the Combat Anti-Semitism movement and research groups indicate that recorded anti-Semitic incidents soared worldwide in 2024, and in some analyses rising by more than 100% compared to previous years, and actually remained elevated into 2025, obviously, as we're seeing these things continue on.
Yeah, it's just horrifying to hear the numbers. And the U.S. specifically has dealt with similar incidents. What do the numbers look like here?
So the Anti-Defamation League, they tallied up 9,354 anti-Semitic incidents across the U.S. in 2024, which is an 893% increase over the past 10 years. And they say it's the highest number on record that we've seen since the ADL started tracking these incidents 46 years ago.
From the very beginning. All right, Emma, thank you so much. A little later on, Emma will be back to break down the political climate in Australia leading up to this attack.
I'm national correspondent Kayla Gaskins in Washington. A deadly mass shooting at Australia's Bondi Beach, bringing anti-Semitism concerns back into focus worldwide.
The start of Hanukkah. It's supposed to be a time of celebration for Jewish communities around the world. But tragedy darkened this 8-day festival of lights when 2 gunmen opened fire at a Hanukkah celebration in Australia's Bondi Beach, killing at least 15.
An act of anti-Semitism, an act of terrorism on our shores.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Australia's decision in September to recognize Palestine as a state rewarded not only the terrorism of the October 7th attacks, but also anti-Semitic sentiment cheered by some of the protesters, including this crowd in Sydney, which some heard as "gas the Jews," but others insisted they said, "Where's the Jews?" Jewish leaders say both possible versions of the chant outside the Sydney Opera House are highly problematic.
Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. You let the disease spread, and the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today.
It's a charge Australia's leader strongly rejects.
Do you accept any link between that recognition and the massacre in Bondi?
No, I don't. And overwhelmingly, most of the world recognises a two-state solution as being the way forward.
The Bondi Beach attack is the latest and deadliest in a string of anti-Semitic attacks worldwide. In the UK, a terrorist attacked a synagogue on Yom Kippur. In the U.S., 2 Israeli embassy staffers were shot and killed in Washington, D.C. this past May. In June, a man threw Molotov cocktails at a group of Jewish demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado. And during Passover, the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania was set on fire. Governor Josh Shapiro is Jewish.
The latest hate crime report from the FBI released in August shows anti-Jewish hate crimes in the U.S. are at the highest level since the FBI began tracking that data back in 1990. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
At least 15 people are dead, including a child, after a mass shooting at Bondi Beach in Australia this weekend. Police say roughly 1,000 people were gathering for an event celebrating the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah when the attack took place. More than 24 people, including 2 police officers, have been hospitalized. Police shot the 2 suspects, a father-son duo, we've learned. The Prime Minister says the 50-year-old father died at the scene and his 24-year-old son is in a coma in the hospital as of today. The deadly attack follows a sharp rise in the anti-Semitic attacks in Australia over the last 2 years. In 2023, look here, nearly 500 anti-Semitic incidents reported in the country. That number exploding to more than 2,000 incidents in 2024, resulting in a 300% increase. According to advocacy group ECAJ, there were more than 1,500 incidents reported this year. Australia, home to about 117,000 Jews who make up less than 0.5% of the country's population. The global Jewish community is still reeling following the deadly anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Australia. Let's go to Emma Withrow from the Fact Check team. And as you know, Israeli officials were quick to cast the blame on the Australian government.
Right.
After looking into this, explain the reasoning behind these accusations.
So it seems like it mostly stems from the fact that Australia officially recognized the state of Palestine. So in a statement in September, they said, quote, Australia recognizes the legitimate and long-held aspirations of the people of Palestine to a state of their own. And this was part of a coordinated international effort to build new momentum for that two-state solution that we've talked about a lot in the past. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu read a letter that he sent to the Australian Prime Minister saying in part, quote, your call for a Palestinian state pours fuel on the anti-Semitic fire. It rewards Hamas terrorists. But then Australia's Prime Minister, he rejected that assertion when asked about it in an interview recently. So there's both sides of that.
Something that is for certain is that this is not an isolated incident. Tell us about the history of anti-Semitic attacks in Australia.
Yeah, Australia, obviously, this isn't just the first anti-Semitic incident they've had. It's been kind of a steady 2-year escalation. So according to the Jerusalem Post, what started after the October 2023 Hamas attacks as kind of graffiti and threats against Jewish schools and businesses in Australia grew into arson attacks, terror investigations, and government crackdowns. So that rising pattern ultimately led to this deadly Hanukkah shooting at Bondi Beach, which is the worst anti-Semitic attack that we've seen in Australia's history, actually.
Just horrible. Just horrible. It's been a horrible week. Emma, thank you so much. And for more on this Fact Check Team topic, including links to Emma's sources, scan the QR code on your screen or visit thenationaldesk.com.
It's being described as an act of pure evil. Bondi Beach, a place associated with joy and celebration, forever tarnished.
This was an attack deliberately targeted at the Jewish community on the first day of Hanukkah.
The mass shooting in Sydney, Australia during a Hanukkah celebration sending shockwaves around the country and the world.
That was such a horrible attack. That was a purely anti-Semitic attack.
We're supposed to be the lucky country. We're supposed to be a country where people are allowed to express their religion freely, and where something like this happens is unbelievable.
The suspects, a father and son, with this extraordinary video appearing to show the moment a 43-year-old Muslim father wrestles the gun out of one of the suspects' hands.
We saw an action of a brave man, turns out a Muslim brave man, and I salute him, that stopped one of these terrorists from killing innocent Jews.
The incident occurring less than 2 weeks after this report from the Executive Council of Australian Jewry detailed anti-Semitic incidents in Australia have reached historic highs since the Hamas-led terrorist attacks in Israel on October 7th, 2023. The United States also on high alert, the last few years bringing a spotlight to anti-Semitic incidents on college campuses and other acts of violence. This man over the summer threw Molotov cocktails at a Jewish gathering in Boulder, Colorado. And in Washington, D.C. in May, a suspect opened fire on people leaving an event hosted by the American Jewish Committee, killing 2. Australia's Prime Minister vowing his country will never submit to division, violence, or hatred. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National News Desk. I'm Christine Frizzell in Washington. Tonight, the FBI remains on high alert after disrupting an alleged terror plot set to take place on New Year's Eve. It comes at the end of a year that started with a deadly New Year's Day attack, followed by many more, both here in the United States and around the world. In a year that began with a man driving his truck into a crowd of people in New Orleans on New Year's Day, killing 14, a stunning announcement from the FBI. 4 suspects arrested while reportedly conducting practice drills ahead of planned attacks in Los Angeles on New Year's Eve.
These bombs were to blow up at the same time on midnight this New Year's Eve. The 4 subjects are members of a radical faction of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, TILF.
The Turtle Island Liberation Front, according to the FBI, is a violent, homegrown anti-government group with additional plans to attack New Orleans and Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. These photos of their materials shared by the FBI.
They had bomb-making wherewithal. They were test-firing bombs in the desert. And if they pulled this off, 5 bombs going off in crowded stores and locations in L.A. Under the cover of the noise of New Year's Eve fireworks. This could have been devastating.
Another alleged plot, foiled by the FBI, set to be carried out on Halloween weekend near Detroit, as several other instances of terrorism centered around holidays have unfortunately been successful. This attack on Yom Kippur in Manchester, UK, and of course, the weekend attack at Australia's Bondi Beach.
You simply cannot harden every school, every synagogue, every Christmas party, every holiday market.
The father and son suspects allegedly had a handmade ISIS flag found in their car. The ideology no longer concentrated in the Middle East and Africa, with 279 ISIS sympathizers charged in the United States since 2014. Experts say one common thread spans multiple ideologies.
They want to send that message. They want to be able to say that they are striking fear into the heart of the government, that they are changing government policy, and regardless of the ideology behind it, that is terrorism.
When it comes to bringing people on board, experts say nothing has played as major of a role as the internet and social media. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
The anti-Semitic terrorist attack at Australia's Bondi Beach, where 15 people were killed and dozens more injured, was ISIS-inspired. That's according to the country's prime minister. According to ABC News tonight, the alleged father and son gunmen allegedly shouted an Arabic phrase meaning God is greater as they carried out that massacre. One of the suspects' cars also contained ISIS flags. Investigators are now piecing together their movements. Now, the pair traveled to the Philippines just weeks leading up to that attack, an area home to several Islamist insurgent groups. Brand new video here also shows the moments an elderly couple tried to tackle one of those shooters. They were the first to confront him before being shot and killed. They're being hailed as heroes tonight who likely saved many lives. Friends and family starting this GoFundMe, writing, quote, "This act of bravery and selflessness reflects exactly who they were, people who instinctively chose to help, even at great personal risk." Sydney continues to mourn the lives lost tonight with a growing floral memorial by the beach pavilion. Funerals are expected to get underway soon.